We could do that.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Sim Strategy Show. Very fun one ahead of us today for an 11-gamer, right? Because you got two Monday Night Football games. You got a Dublin on Ireland game, and you've got a Thursday game yesterday. I fell asleep. I told you after the show, I was like, dude, I'm not making it through this game. I did not. And I wake up. I went to sleep. It was like 20-6. And I wake up and it was 23-20. Did the game get close towards the end, or was it garbage time touchdowns?
No, the game was very, very competitive
Wow.
because it actually so the game was tied 20-20, and then the Seahawks made
they
a
tied
walk-off
it?
field goal. So yeah, it was very close. But also the game was I don't want to say the game was decided by one thing, because that's not ever actually what the case is. But the reason the Seahawks were able to get a field goal with 20 seconds left after the Cardinals scored to tie the game is because of the new kickoff rule. The kicker was kind of trying to do like a pooch kick and landed at a half yard short of the 20-yard line, which means the Seahawks just start their drive at the 40 then, which the new kickoff rules, I think they're kind of stupid. I don't really understand the point of them. It's like you have to land the ball within a certain zone. I don't know. I think it's pretty dumb, but it's not fair to say that one individual play decided the entire game, but it was way too impactful in a high leverage situation. I don't understand the point of that rule.
These kickers are doing a lot of weird things with these kickoffs now. Cardi for the Rams, I don't know if you saw any of that Eagles game. He's doing it where the Eagles literally muffed three straight. I guess I don't know if you'd call it a muff, right? When it's a kickoff, a fumble, really. Three straight, they could not hold on to him, kicked them in the landing zone, Greg. They were down inside their own 10 on three straight kickoffs. And other teams are trying to replicate this now to get it in that landing zone. It's very interesting. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, glad to have you guys here. If you don't mind, take a single second this wonderful Friday morning. Atone for your sins. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. And leave a comment down below. Let us know your favorite stacks for this week. I've got a couple good ideas. And I've got one that we did not talk about last week. On Wednesday, during the single lineup sim show, that I'm very excited to get your thoughts on.
Ooh, all right. I'm interested because I have no clue what it could possibly be that you are alluding to. Also, we got to work some stuff out because I owe you $100, and now I owe you another $100 too because Kenneth Walker ended up with 19 touches yesterday, and on last night's show, we had a bet on over under 15 touches for him. So we've got that to work out. Also, since you may have gone to bed a little early last night, Marvin Harrison ended up being the highest scoring player for no real good reason in last night's game. So he broke the slate last night, and the narrative changed on him very quickly in the second half.
I was happy about it. I was with you on we just should get to more of this guy for sure. And I think you had a good read there. Dude, I bet the 70 plus receiving and he finished with 66. I woke up and I was like, oh man, because I went to bed thinking, yeah, there's no chance he gets close to that. But yeah, I ran him at captain in a bunch. Why not? I think both of our ideas were, hey, if he sucks, he sucks. But most people expect him to suck. People aren't playing him, to have a big game. And he ended up having 6 for 66 and a nice touchdown. Now, dude, early on, I don't know if you saw that drop. I'm going, this is a nightmare. This is a nightmare. Like all he's trying to do is get back on track. He bobbles it's a perfect pass, a perfectly led pass from Kyler Murray, and it goes straight into the hands of the Rams defender. I mean, unbelievable. I'm thinking that's it. He's not there's just no chance. And then I wake up and he had a solid enough game. Also, Ben, I think, bet the DeMercado last touchdown for that jackpot and got it.
Yeah, knocked me off a little bit because I had a Charbonnet for the last touchdown for the jackpot, and he had it for a point in time. And then it looked like he was going to potentially have it again because he ran for a second touchdown, but it got called back. So when I thought I was going to end up winning with Charbonnet, and I thought that he was going to be low owned for the jackpot thing over on FanDuel just because he was listed as questionable officially. So I thought I was going to get a low owned guy for the purpose of that contest. We had Ben hit a really good one on DeMercado.
He might actually get paid out a lot for that.
He might.
Yeah.
There's probably not that many people that took him.
Spicy had a solid night with MHJ, captain, double kickers. Thanks to yesterday's show. Awesome, man. Appreciate you watching. I want to say, I know I talked about it yesterday. The guy's a very good pass catcher. Elijah Arroyo, if you're season-long players, I would highly recommend picking that guy up. I think his role could continue to expand. When you see a rookie flailing his arms down the sideline, telling a veteran quarterback that he's open, and then the quarterback goes, all right, let's see what you got, and he comes down with a beautiful grab and had multiple end zone targets, dude, I think there's something about him, Greg, and I hope so because my best ball exposure is preposterously high.
Yeah, Arroyo looked really good yesterday. Honestly, Barner looked pretty good yesterday. Also,
he was
also in the winning lineup. There was lots of tight ends that look good yesterday.
And as people point out, yes, tone for your sons here.
Yep.
Hit the thumbs up. All right, let's have some fun, dude. We've got a good one. I really like this slate, and I think there's a couple spots that I want to talk about first. We just reran and updated the Sims. I'll give you guys a little teaser. I just recorded the perfect lineup for the main slate. I know you guys have enjoyed that Josh and I do together, and I appreciate you supporting it. It's been a lot of fun. Plus, every week we give out a free month of the Sims Max for NFL. Why would you not want to be involved there? Greg, I'll give you a little hint. Each week we do an exclusive lineup over on Tails, only on Tails. We do 3 on the perfect lineup video, 1 over on Tails. The exclusive contrarian lineup may in fact be a Michael Penix Jr. stack. I don't know. You might have to check for yourself. The link is in the description. Come follow Greg and me over on Tails. But when I just looked right now, and I had no idea because we just updated the Sims and Penix was not popping up earlier. This was just me going, you know what? Got to do it. When I look at our lineups, our highest simmed ROI lineup is a Michael Penix Jr. stack.
It is number 1 lineup here. It is not only a Michael Penix Jr. lineup. It is a Michael Penix Jr. triple stack. It has Darnell Mooney, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts in it. And that is the lineup all the way at the top of our sim ROIs here. 197.3% sim ROI there. Also, just really quickly looking at the QB exposures, Penix only pulling 2% ownership and showing up in 8% of top lineup. So, yeah, our data on the latest update, it is liking Michael Penix.
And you know who was popping up like that last week? Geno Smith.
This is true.
Yep. When people are down on play, look, I can't say enough how important I think it is to adopt that mentality, even if it's tough. To at the very least, have the willingness to go not even back to the well, but be willing to go to specific players if the sentiment is down. They're coming off a 30-point blowout loss, right? You have to have some willingness to do those things. Just as Greg and I talked about with Marvin Harrison Jr. yesterday. Granted, it's a showdown site, so he still was going to have some, popularity. Or even Kenneth Walker. Like, I know it didn't work out, Greg, but I'm still very happy with my decision there. He had 20 touches, 19 carries, and a 29-yard reception. And you know what? I'm not trying to make excuses here, but it sure feels like if he didn't take that taunting penalty in the second quarter, that he would have had a goal line opportunity at the very least. It looked like he got benched for the latter half of that second quarter. It really did. He didn't come out and see. He did 2 straight drives. Kenneth Walker didn't see a touch. My point only to make is that maybe a guy seems underwhelming on paper. If there's a path for a good player, but if there's a path for a good player to have a game when people don't want to get to him as much, to me, I think you should always be considering that.
Yeah, and I don't think there was a single player last night who the public was lower on than Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah. And he was the highest scoring fantasy player in the game, and he was needed. He was the winning captain in the optimal lineup. He was relatively inexpensive. He was under-owned, and everybody was piling on him in the first half, myself included, because I had buyer's remorse. I was like, I can't believe how much of Marvin Harrison. He was my most rostered captain last night. I was like, I can't believe how much of this guy played at halftime. And in the second half, I'm taking my victory laps. Everything's looking good in the second half with Marvin Harrison Jr. But yeah, those little kind of situations where, and I think intuitively we know too, like as much as everybody was joking about Marvin Harrison and there's the meme, Marvin Harrison either catch a touchdown pass or go to outer space, and it's him in the astronaut uniform. Nobody really truly thought that Marvin Harrison is some non-NFL worst player in the league. And that's how he was being made out to be in the first half. Those are almost always going to be the guys who you're going to want to be playing in DFS.
Absolutely. And I wasn't acting like he was bad. To me, my entire thought process was like, this guy's got to be so in his thoughts right now. Like after another drop turned into an interception, it's not about him not having a supreme skill set. But yes, sometimes you got to buy low. There's a few guys I want to buy low on this week. So let's take a look at our exposures, look at some lineups, and let's talk through maybe some guys that we want to get more or less of, depending on what the sims are giving us now, and see how we can make some adjustments.
Absolutely. Let's start getting to. Want to start by just looking at some of the stacks that we have? We already saw the Penix stack.
Yeah, definitely.
By the way, a lot of this is kind of similar to what we saw on Wednesday in terms of Drake May and Geno Smith showing up a good amount. This is a very different slate than some of the recent ones, because if you remember going back a couple of weeks ago, all of the most popular quarterbacks and also the ones that were showing up the most in the sims were the expensive QBs. It was like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. I don't remember exactly who it was the last 2 weeks ago, but it was something along those lines. Now it's the cheaper and mid-range quarterbacks that are showing up a lot more this week.
To me, it makes a lot of sense. I don't think Jalen Hurts is in a particularly good spot. He really struggles against that Todd Bowles defense. That isn't to say he can't get it done this week, but they bring a lot of blitzes, and he struggles. When you're playing zone, they bring the blitz. He struggles a lot in those situations. Lamar Jackson doesn't look bad, but then you have Josh Allen, and there's got to be the question of Josh Allen, like, is this too good of a matchup? Like, is this too good of a spot for Josh Allen? I know it sounds silly, but could it just be like not only James? I actually share the same concerns with James Cook. Is it too good of a matchup for James Cook? Or, Greg, does he have 202 in the first half and you don't even need him in the third or in the second half in the third quarter? To me, all of that is possible, and we can talk through all of this. I'm going to put a poll out right now. I want to get your guys' thoughts, Greg. Can you go to poll for quarterback? Can you go to pool ownership for me and sort by lowest?
Yeah, so all the way at the bottom, we've got, here are the 4 lowest owned quarterbacks. One of them is Michael Penix. Also, these are just the 4 lowest that we actually have exposure to. So there could be some ones who are like 0.1% owned or something that just aren't showing up lineups for us. But 1% owned Bryce Young, 2% owned Spencer Rattler, 2% owned Michael Penix, and a 3% owned CJ Stroud.
Okay. Wow. And Stroud's a 7-point home favorite against the Titans. We have 2% Jackson Dart too.
Jackson Dart. No, Dart is. You mean? I was looking just at the pool ownership, but yeah, he is. He's 5% owned, and we're getting 2% of him here. So pulling a little bit of ownership now, Jackson Dart.
Not a lot. Yeah.
No, not a lot.
All right. Trevor Lawrence is kind of interesting to me. We're getting 4%.
Mm-hmm.
But who are our highest? All right, I just posted that poll. So hit that in there. Let me know where you're going. I know where I'm going, but I'm curious to see where the field is going as well. Shout out to the field yesterday, because when I asked them Marvin Harrison or Cooper Kupp at captain, it was like 65% Marvin Harrison Jr. So hat tip to you guys. Well, most of you guys. You were on the right side of that one. Rance not falling for Lawrence. Ray P. Lawrence or Jackson equals dart throw. Yeah, I suppose. I don't know. But
he got you by reading his name.
What's that?
I said he got you by reading it. You read his name. He got you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Ray P. Okay. I want to do Drake May stacks with Hunter Henry and Travion Henderson.
Okay. Yeah. And also just kind of something I was thinking about last night, because I was watching the game. My sister went to Ohio State. Ohio State, when she was there, they had one of the most loaded offensive teams for just skill position players. They had a team a couple of years ago where it was CJ Stroud at quarterback, Travion Henderson at running back, and then the 2 starting wide receivers were JSN and Marvin Harrison. Those were their key skill position players.
I know. Just absolutely insane stuff, man. Alabama had that too for, I forget who it was. They had like 4 receivers and like they were so good that guys who are elite in the NFL right now weren't even getting significant playing time on certain years, but just crazy stuff. Right now, Penix leads, but Stroud isn't far behind. Dart is at 28%. Deuce Trey said CJ Stroud is trash. Look, he hasn't been nearly as good as his rookie year, but that offensive line, that pass protection is so bad that I don't really know what's up or down in Houston right now. I truly don't. But I like the Drake May stacks. They're 5.5-point home favorites against Carolina. I think it's a good spot. Carolina coming off a 30-0 win over Atlanta. It's funny because I like Atlanta against Washington coming off that loss, and I like the Patriots coming off against the team facing a team coming off of that win. But I don't really like the Panthers this week all that much. I do like Teterow and McMillan as a straight play, just a standalone play, or as a run back in these Drake May lineups. I like him quite a bit, assuming Christian Gonzalez is out once again.
Yeah, he's showing up in a good amount of lineups too, Tet McMillan. Right now, we've got him as our second most rostered wide receiver, only behind Devontae Adams. Also, as an aside, I did bet Tet McMillan to win Rookie of the Year earlier this morning as well. I'm pretty high on Tet McMillan in general. Obviously, he could very much potentially be held back by Bryce Young, but I really, sometimes Bryce Young looks really solid and other times he looks really terrible. I have no clue what to make of him. It's certainly concerning the times he seemingly has to jump to see over his offensive line to throw a pass. But for this week, I'm on the same page as you and so is our data. I'm pretty high on Tet McMillan right now.
I will say it actually looks like Christian Gonzalez is going to be back this week. So pay attention. Maybe it doesn't move the needle for you. That stuff does move the needle for me. If there are very good cornerbacks, I didn't know. Early in the week, they were saying it looked like he was going to be out, but now it looks like he could play. I don't love that. I don't love that much at all. I'm not saying he's going to shadow McMillan, but when you really don't have any other good wide receivers on this team, does Christian Gonzalez coming off this hamstring injury kind of put a damper on the Tet McMillan performance? If he plays, I will bump down McMillan a little bit. I'll still get some as the run back, but I will like the Patriots even more.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'll also keep an eye on what his prop lines are. If Gonzalez ends up playing, but it doesn't really move McMillan's betting lines at all, it's going to be hard for me to put too much stock into it. You just never know with those kinds of things how impactful it's going to be to an individual player's fantasy production. And then also, you just get into these situations where teams are trailing or there's a 2-minute drill and there's prevent defenses being played. I don't know. It's always hard for me to put too much stock into individual defensive players unless it's somebody who's like, Myles Garrett or something like that, or Micah Parsons that isn't playing a game.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think there are certain players in the secondary that have bigger impacts than others. Quinyon Mitchell, you go up against Quinyon Mitchell, like he's not. Devontae Adams was targeted 5 times against Mitchell, had 2 receptions for 12 yards last week. Like basically all of his production came when he was away from Mitchell, and he did score on that push off against Blankenship. So yeah, sure, you can still have that production, but there is that. Matthew, what site are you guys betting ladders on? I don't have some sites available. There's no such thing as betting a ladder play. If you're betting a ladder, put it this way, and I was on with Andy Francis yesterday, and we had talked about the same thing. Say Greg wants to ladder, shall we say, Ladd McConkey up to 100, Greg?
It's very possible. It's something you could definitely interest me in for this weekend.
Okay, let's say Greg, because I want to do it. Let's say Greg and I want to ladder Ladd McConkey up to 100 yards. Very much a buy low spot. His 100-yard prop now, Greg, is plus 400. There's no way in week 1 it would have been plus 400. What you would do is say his standard prop is 58.5 minus 114, or say 59.5 for the sake of argument here. Let's say you want to allocate a 1 unit to it, okay? You could do like a half a unit on 60 plus. You could do 0.2 on 80 plus, you could, or 0.3 on 80 plus and 0.2 on 100 plus, or you could do 70, 80, 90 and 100 and break them up in smaller increments. That's all you're doing. You're making individual bets, going up the rungs of the ladder as the receiving yards go. There is no ladder. Like if you're betting a ladder, you're just betting the 100 plus, right? Like Greg said it the other day. Imagine if a sports book allows you to parlay 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. It's insane.
Yeah. So one for last night, for instance, like I thought some of the alt lines for Marvin Harrison looked pretty good. I wouldn't have wanted to touch his normal 42.5 line because you guys just saw there was, even in hindsight, like it was pretty clear there was such a wide range of outcomes that could have happened with Marvin Harrison in that game. He hit a couple of his alt lines, and going forward, his numbers are going to be significantly different than what they were. His numbers are never going to be that low again for the rest of the season.
No. That was my exact argument too. I bet 70 yard alt at plus 240. You're not going to be getting that routinely at all. But yeah, I like the Drake May stack here. Genuinely do. I don't hate the Tet McMillan run back. Jatavian Sanders is out with a high ankle too, so they don't really have much. The Geno Smith spot, Greg, I like it. I like a buy low on Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. I know they'll be owned. Chicago cannot get pressure, and they're without their all-pro corner and Jalen Johnson, who's on the IR. So I'm not saying they won't be owned, but at the same time, I definitely think that Geno makes sense at home here. The Raiders have a 25-point team total this week.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys are showing up in the Sims as well. Trey Tucker, something that you and I had speculated was going to happen on Wednesday was that Trey Tucker was going to come up from like the 1% projected ownership or 2%, whatever the number was. And now he is about 7% owned. Wouldn't be surprised that goes up even higher. If you look at some of the other guys on the Raiders, like Brock Bowers, for instance, is only 9% owned. I think this is a great buy low spot on Bowers because also something that you and I had talked about on Wednesday. Brock Bowers looked great in week 1, but he hurts his knee towards the tail end of the game. Weeks 2, weeks 3, his production is a little bit down, but I think a lot of that could be attributed to the knee. It's not like Brock Bowers all of a sudden a worse player than he was last year was in week 1. Sometime in the next couple of weeks, maybe even this Sunday, he's going to look 100 or close to 100%. And if you have choices to either play Brock Bowers before we know he's totally healthy or you wait until after he's totally healthy, I think you're going to miss a big game on Brock Bowers at too low of ownership. And I think this could be the spot. I really do like Bowers at tight end. If I was picking just one tight end to give an ROI boost to get to more of for this weekend slate, I would be picking Brock Bowers.
So would I. And not just too low of ownership, but too low of a price point too, right? I mean, when you look at his salary at $5,800, he opened the season at $6,500, had 5 for 103 against New England. So yeah, there's absolutely a possibility for a monster game here. And I would like to get some pieces of that. I know you do as well. I am worried about their run blocking, but their pass protection hasn't been that bad. So yeah, the fact that the Sims are giving us May and Geno right now, what are our other highest owned quarterbacks?
Yeah, so some of the other highest owned quarterbacks, I know Caleb Williams was one of them. Here we go. Yeah. So we got 4 quarterbacks in at least 10% of lineups. Drake May, Geno Smith, we just touched on. Caleb Williams, the other one, and then Justin Herbert. Caleb Williams, I could not be more impressed with his arm. I mean, he's got a ridiculous arm. He's just inconsistent at this point in time, but it's not hard to see why he was a number 1 overall pick in the draft. But another guy, too, there's been some off-field concerns. He's been inconsistent when he plays. There's been some questions as well about just his overall commitment and dedication to practice. But Caleb Williams, if you told me 2 years from now he's an MVP candidate, I wouldn't be surprised. If you told me 2 years from now his job is in jeopardy, I wouldn't be surprised by that either. But I'm going to be playing a lot of Caleb Williams this year because you're going to see games like last week where they're running something like a flea flicker and he's throwing the ball 70 yards in the air, just on a dime in perfect location. There's so much upside to Caleb Williams. I love this game overall, the Bears-Raiders game. It's pretty similar to the Cowboys-Bears game from last week.
I agree. I also think, there's no question that Rome Odunze is the number 1 on this team. 28% target share, 41% of the team's air yards. And some people might say, well, air yards don't matter. Yeah, I get that. But if you look at Caleb Williams, Greg, you'd be surprised at how well he's actually thrown the deep ball so far. He's attempted 14 deep passes this year. He's 7 of 14. Take PFF with a grain of salt if you prefer, but like a 92 PFF rating on deep balls with like a 70% expected completion percentage. And 7 of those 14 deep balls have gone to Rome Odunze. So the guy's just getting peppered with targets all over the field. You know, the run back just makes too much sense there on a Geno stack. And it's a spot I'm with you. I'd like to get to that as well. I'm not saying you can't get to DJ Moore as a contrarian spot, but there is absolutely no question that right now Rome Odunze is the alpha in this offense.
Yeah, and you're seeing that in our data as well, where he's currently showing up in 21% of our top lineups, getting a little bit of DJ Moore, a little bit of DeAndre Swift, but nothing significantly different from what the field is doing. But our data is liking us to get overweight to the field on Odunze, which based on what his role has been so far this year, it makes sense. What we thought about DJ Moore and Odunze coming into the year, it seems like the roles are just a little bit flipped in the passing game from what the expectation was.
I agree. Ronald Hill. Hey, Ronald, by the way, I did DM you back over on Twitter. Loughy, what about going back to the Hurts AJ Brown well this week? You know, you could, but and maybe this is just like a blocker for me, Greg, but they really struggle against Todd Bowles' defense, and this is something that I have a tough time with. It's hard to run on this team too. You know, there's no doubt about it, but it's probably just not a spot I get to a ton of this week. I feel like I was over the target last week against the Rams, although it took a full half to materialize. I wouldn't blame anyone for going there this week. I just don't think that'll be a priority of mine in Tampa Bay in that heat as well.
Yeah, let's see. What are we getting there for some of our exposures, if anything? So we have, I'm also checking just some of our overall projection, because at first glance, it doesn't look like we're getting to very much of the, like, I don't see any of the Eagles here. Whatever, I'll just sort by the Eagles. I thought there's a chance that we just don't have exposure to them. A little bit, not all that much though. We don't have any of AJ Brown. So I'll have to check what our projection is on a separate screen here. Devonta Smith. Yeah, we have very minimal Eagle stacks. Do we have?
Yeah,
do we
it's
have
just not a
Smith
spot
or
I
Brown
love this week.
Do you know what our? I'm pulling it up here in a second. Do you know what our difference is in Brown versus Smith projection?
I don't. I just clicked into the post contest sim for something here.
Okay. All right. So we've got AJ Brown projected for about 14 fantasy points. So like 2.5 fantasy points more than Devonta Smith. I was kind of interested to see where we were at on these guys after the games they each had last week. So we've got Barkley pulling 12% ownership. We're underweight to him. We're underweight to Jalen Hurts. We're underweight to Devonta Smith. And we're getting to none of AJ Brown, who we've got projected for 14 fantasy points at 6,400.
We had another question from Kyle Hillfiker. How do I say that? Hillfiker? Anyway. He says, weird we like McMillan, but don't want to stack him with Bryce. I get it's a single stack, but still it opens your lines up. Say McMillan goes off for 100 plus and 2 touchdowns. Doesn't Bryce get dragged kicking and screaming into value nuts territory? I think it's twofold, Greg. Yes, like I don't think you're crazy if you do that because he is very cheap, but also Geno's 5,400 and, you know, Drake May is 5,500. And my guess is what's Michael Penix?
We've got Penix is 5,100.
Penix is 5,100. So Caleb is 58. What I'm saying is, yes, that could definitely be the case. But Greg mentioned it earlier in the show. There's so much value at quarterback, and not only value at quarterback, but Jacoby Myers and Bowers aren't expensive. Hunter Henry, Trevion Henderson, those guys, if you wanted to go there, even like a Diggs, they're not expensive. I don't love Diggs, but I'm just throwing it out there. You've seen now Drake London is down to 5,700. Kyle Pitts is 3,600. So none of these stacks that we're talking about are actually all that pricey. Even Roma Dunze is only 6,300, despite having like the 8th highest target share in the league.
One other thing too, Ted McMillan having a big game does not mean a Bryce Young stack has to work, because there's nobody who's doing anything in the passing game for the Panthers other than Ted McMillan. If McMillan has 100 yards and a touchdown, it is very possible that means Bryce Young had 150 yards and a touchdown. Do you know who the second leading wide receiver is in terms of yards for the Panthers and how many yards they have, if you had to guess?
I mean, it's not Renfro then? Is it Sanders?
So in fairness, I specified wide receivers, so the answer is Renfro. Otherwise, it would be Sanders. Of all the wide receivers, Renfro has the second most yards for the Panthers behind McMillan. He has 65 yards on 11 catches through 3 games. So all of the production in the offense is more or less going to Ted McMillan. You are getting 30 yards per game out of Jatavian Sanders, but he's hurt anyway. That's kind of the reason why also I took him out of the equation, because he's not there for this week. But they're just not getting wide receiver pass catching production from anybody who's active right now outside of McMillan.
Yep, exactly. I'm all about it. The McMillan play, I worry about Gonzalez, but I'll still get there because he's 5,900. But yeah, the like you said, Bryce Young, it's very difficult to see him now. Maybe the game just shoots out. Who knows? Morgan, Broncos have trailed for 0 seconds in the fourth quarter, and they are 1-2. Yeah, dude. They had a ton of defensive or offensive miscues and defensive against the Colts. And then they lost on a walk-off field goal against the Chargers. Yeah, dude. Their defense is playing well. I mean, they're rushing 4 and they're getting, I think they have the highest pressure rate in the league. So they should, my guess is they just destroyed Jake Browning on Monday night, but we'll see how that plays out. All right. If you guys want to get access to these Sims, what made me think of this is Spicy Chipotle saying Sims don't like Trey Henderson that much. Yeah, and maybe it changes, but I do. He has a 67.5 yard rushing plus receiving prop. I'll boost him a little bit. Really have no problem doing that to get some as an attachment as well to the New England Patriots. It's a good matchup. I said in the perfect lineup, Greg, there are certain spots I'd rather be early on him at 5,200 than late at 7K. You know, and you can make, Greg can even show you right now, like there's ways to make adjustments. Say he wanted to, like, first of all, you can change projections, but only do that if you know what you're doing. But you can apply boosts as well. You can set cap restrictions, right? And cap specific players in certain spots. There's a lot of things you can do here. Now, you'd probably have to boost Henderson quite a bit if we wanted to get him into more lineups, but it's not that hard to do. Just make sure you're not totally removing the point of the Sims itself. Like someone DM'd me a few days ago and it's like, hey, are there any controls and filters and settings where I can get the lineups I want? It's like, well, you're not trying to get the lineups you want in the sense of like every single lineup. If there's a specific player you want to get more of, then do it, right? Then do it. In this case, TreVeyon Henderson is a guy that I would like to get more of so I could be early. That's all. But the Sims have a lot of controls that you can use, absolutely a ton of controls that you can use. I'm curious to see what we get here, Greg. You boosted him.
So now he'd be in just about everything. But I'm showing people something you could do. Let's say that you wanted 10% of TreVeyon Henderson.
Oh, this is a great idea. This is a great call.
Like you're just like, I need 10% of TreVeyon Henderson. I'll do this sometimes. You just give somebody a massively aggressive ROI boost, and then you set the max exposure to whatever number you want, in this case, 10%. And then what's going to end up happening is you will get exactly 10% of TreVeyon Henderson then when you end up favoriting lineups.
That's a great way to do it, man. Instead of having to boost him like 20% and you're still only getting a couple lineups, what you're doing here is you're insuring yourself. You're guaranteeing 10% of him without having to get all of your lineups. That's a really good call.
Yeah. So you'll see here where TreVeyon Henderson, because I gave him this crazy artificial boost, but the number itself you're giving him in this scenario doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to make sure those lineups show up towards the top of the sims. And then I just set the max exposure to 10%. You get exactly 10%. So there's not like one button you could press where it's like, here's 10% of Travion Henderson, but there are two buttons you could press right there where you kind of rig it a little bit and it'll get you the exact desired amount of a player.
Yeah, great call. Danny, did Loughy just say Henderson's going to be 7K? Nah, context is important here, man. What I'm saying is if I'm right that he ends up taking over after Stevenson fumbled twice and Gibson fumbled once, and they both have an extensive history of fumbling, if I end up being right and he does take over and become the RB1 in New England and they start using him more in both phases of the offense, then there's a very real possibility, sure, that down the road, Henderson could be 7K. Forget about the numbers. They're arbitrary numbers. What I'm saying is I would rather take shots on guys to be early. And like Greg did, you got 10% of him. That's not going crazy. That's not going to make or break your week. I'd rather get him at 5,200 than him have a great game. And now next week he's here. Maybe this will be better for you. Next week he's 6,200 up there with all those other mid-range running backs. It's just Greg. All it is if you think there's a spot that you might be right on, you'd rather be early than late, because when you're late, you're just chasing.
Yeah. And to be clear, 10% Travion Henderson, it could make your week if he goes out and he's one of the top scoring running backs on the slate. And all of a sudden you got a 1% owned guy and 10% of lineups. So you got some really unique lineups with Travion Henderson. And then he's still going to be around the other players who show up best in the sims with the way I kind of sorted it with the ROI boosts and whatnot. So yeah, that's one thing that I like to do, especially for showdowns. Now that we have the 50,000 pool and there's going to be, a lot of guys who are like 1-2% owned in showdown. That's the way that I force some guys into like 4 or 5% of lineups.
I think that's a great call. Makes it way easier. There are tons of ways to manipulate these tools the way you'd like without, as you pointed, making big time mistakes. And without totally obliterating the purpose of the tools. And if you guys want access to them, there's two ways to do it. The first way you can do it is very simple. Just click the link down there, go to stokastic.com/join. It's in the description, and check out all the packages we have, whether it's a weekly, whether it's a monthly, whether it's all access, whatever you're interested in, we've got all of them. The other way to do it, pretty good way, is just get them for free. If you want to get the Sims for free, all you have to do is go in to the link where it says join any sportsbook, gets the Stokastic Sims free, Greg, and you've got it. That's it. Simple as that. You just claim the offer right there on the page, follow those 4 simple steps, place it, make a deposit. It's like $5 or $10 minimum on all these. Get your deposit match bonus, get your bonus bets, or get your, the site cash that they give you. And after your first bet settles or your first DFS pick'em lineup, if you're in a non-legal betting state and you want to go on better, sleeper, underdog, pick 6, any of those, once that settles, simply send us your screenshots to support@stokastic.com with your first settled bet and your welcome email and tell us what you want. If you claimed 4 of these, boom, Caesars, Onyx, Fanatics, BetMGM, you're spending like 40 total dollars, and you can legitimately free roll the entire season with 4 free months of the Sims. No joke. October, November, December, January, you'd free roll the entirety of the NFL season and postseason by depositing 30 or $40, getting bonus bets, getting site credit, getting all of that stuff. And you've got the Sims. It's a straight no-brainer. And Greg, I would be remiss to not mention, we just added Onyx Odds. It's a sweepstakes book. And all you have to do is spend $10. You get $100 in Onyx cash over there, and you get a free month of the Sims when you email us. That's a big one, man. I'm so glad we've partnered with them because I'm on Onyx. I've been there for a while. And if you're not there, it's available in 40 plus states.
Unfortunately, I'm very jealous because the odds are really good at Onyx. They got the really good welcome offer. One of the only states they're not in, it's New Jersey. So I don't have access to it. So you guys are going to have to win money there for me. Yeah,
we are, man. And plus, like I said, it's available in 40 plus. So use that if you want to do it that way. Otherwise, take the traditional route. Just poke around, sign up, week, month, whatever it may be. If you ever have any questions, leave them in the comments or DM Greg and myself. All right, let's do one more thing. What do you say we actually look at our positional? Oh, you're one step ahead of me. What do we got at running back?
Yeah, so at running back, a couple things that are of interest here. One of them is that Cam Scatterbo, his ownership has dipped a little bit when he was nearly 20% on when we were doing the single lineup sim show over on Wednesday. So we've got the same, some of the same running backs that you and I liked. One of them, somebody who you liked, you couldn't believe how low owned he was. Well, he's not all that low owned anymore. James Cook is now 23% projected ownership going there. So makes sense considering how well he's played to start the year, the great game environment that he's going to have against the Saints. To the point you brought up before, though, is it too good of a game environment? Are the Bills going to be up 28-0 at halftime and the starters barely play in the second half, which is kind of what ended up happening to the Seahawks last week against the Saints? So we got Christian McCaffrey really popular. James Cook's pretty popular. Amari and Hampton's really popular. And then Cam Scatterbo, his ownership has come down a little bit from where it was earlier in the week. Some of that has to do with the ownership going up on guys like James Cook and Amari and Hampton. But our data still does like Cam Scatterbo, so he's showing up in 28% of lineups with now 12% projected ownership.
Okay. The James Cook ownership coming up is hardly surprising. What is Christian McCaffrey averaging now? 30 touches, 30 touches a game, Greg. I mean, I'm being a little bit hyperbolic here, but it's got to be close, right? Let's see. Okay, last week 27 touches.
Oh, he's averaging way more than 30.
No.
Yeah.
No, not touches.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, he's over 100 touches through 3 games. He is
really?
50. He is 52 rush attempts, and oh, never mind. I was looking at the numbers wrong. I thought I saw
25 targets.
Yeah, never mind. He has, I don't know why I thought he had over 50 receptions. So never mind. That was a complete brain fart of me. But either way, 77 touches through 3 games. So he's averaging 25 and a half touches. An absurd number.
And you look at it, it's like, all right, week 1, 22 rushing attempts, 10 targets. That's 32 opportunities. 13 and 7. That's still 20 opportunities in week 2. And then 17 attempts and 15 targets in week 3. I will say there's 2 things. One, Jauan Jennings is very likely going to be back this week. At least it appears he is from what I last saw. Oh, no, he didn't practice. They were saying that he was supposed to be back. He may not be back. So, wow. Okay. That's even crazier.
One thing I will add there, though, Jauan Jennings basically hasn't practiced since training camp, so it's kind of hard to know exactly what that means. So,
but usually he would at least get a limited in on Thursday. You're right. Today's going to be a determining factor. The difference, though, is that Jauan Jennings did not play last week. If he played last week, I wouldn't even be worried about it. But he's tending to multiple injuries. And it looks like it appears that Brock Purdy's going to play.
Yeah.
People were saying that, like, if Brock Purdy plays, McCaffrey gets less targets. Sure, maybe he doesn't get 15. But Purdy targeted him 10 times in week 1, and Jennings was out there.
Yeah, so with me actually looking at the correct numbers in front of me, he did have over 30 touches with Brock Purdy in week 1. He had 22 rush attempts, and he also had 9 receptions, so a total of 31 touches there for him overall. Another thing, too, Christian McCaffrey, by brute force, is having good fantasy games. He's been terrible, though, from just an efficiency standpoint. He's averaging 3.4 yards per carry, and he's averaging like 6.5 yards per target. But when you're getting that many touches, it's just kind of easy to have good fantasy games. Now, what happens if he just has like okay efficiency on this kind of volume? All of a sudden, he's going to be scoring like over 30 fantasy points. The volume is insane.
It's nuts. It's nuts. He warrants the price point. I'll say this much, though. I think the Jaguars defense is good. I'm very much through 3 weeks. I'm coming around on this Jaguars defense. Like, I think they're pretty good, man. I'm not saying they're elite, but I do think they're pretty good.
If they get just a little bit more out of their offense, just a little bit more out of the offense, like Trevor Lawrence plays a little bit better, Brian Thomas starts catching the football, maybe Travis Hunter gets a little bit more involved in the offense, which Now it's looking like Travis Hunter is just not going to be all that much of a factor for fantasy purposes. We'll see. Maybe that changes going forward. This team could be really, really good. Not like an elite team in the AFC, but probably like a second tier team. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they win the division. The Colts, Daniel Jones, I don't think that they're going to play at the same level for the rest of the year. I think there's a pretty good case to be made that the Jaguars should be favored to win that division.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. Actually, to favorite now, I'd still put the Colts ahead of them, but I think it's closer than it looks right now. I'd agree with that. Josh says 8,500 is too much. Let's actually think through this for a second, though, Josh. McCaffrey is top 4 in targets on the season. He's 3rd in receptions, and in DraftKings, it's full PPR, right? What's even crazier is he's 14th in receiving yards. He's a running back. Greg, let me keep going. He's 9th in red zone targets. These type of numbers are just crazy. That's not even talking about the fact that he is 8th in rushing attempts. So he's 4th in targets in the league and 8th in rushing attempts. I understand he hasn't been particularly efficient, but does that matter how many guys do you have that are top 10 in rushing attempts and targets?
It's got to be nobody.
Nobody. It is. No, it's nobody. There is nobody else, and there won't be anybody else this year. Like Jonathan Taylor is going to dominate rushing attempts. There's no doubt about it. Same with Saquon Barkley, guys like Josh Jacobs. None of those guys, Bucky Irving, Kyron Williams, Tony Pollard, James Cook, they're all leaders in rushing attempts this year ahead of McCaffrey. None of them will be in like the top, 50, 100 of targets?
Yeah, and people in the chat saying, well, what if he gets hurt? Or people saying they think he's going to get hurt. Sure. I mean, the other thing to say, it's football. Most guys are going to get hurt at some point. That's just kind of how it goes. But for DFS, we're worried about one game. I don't think it's super likely to get hurt in this one individual particular game. You just kind of have to look at what the volume has been to this point, and it's so hard for him he's already playing about as poorly as he could possibly play, and he's in winning GPP lineups every week anyway because of what the workload is.
I know. It's ridiculous, man. I don't know. It just makes too much sense for me not to want to get to him. I understand that he's expensive. I get that people worry about the injuries and that he can't hold up. I don't even fully disagree with that. But what I will say is if he's getting this type of workload right now, at least, and they're 2-1 in the division. The Seahawks are now 3-1 in the division. So this is going to be a very tight division throughout the rest of the year. Rams as well, right? Like the Rams could come in and win this game, and now the Rams would be 3-1 on top of that, should be 4-0 if they end up winning this game. So yeah, man, I absolutely think there's something there. By the way, before we get to wide receivers here, I wanted to let you guys know that we have got a lot going on at Tails, Greg, one of which is a big giveaway that you and I are doing. And I'm very excited about this giveaway because we are going, if we bink the SPY based on our bet, we're going to give away $1,000 to anybody who goes on Tails and simply hits that fire emoji on this post. This is a lineup Greg and I built. It is sick. Now, could it change based on injury news? Absolutely. But we simmed it out, 86% simmed ROI. Go over there, create a free account, follow me, follow Greg. Here's how easy it is to do. I already follow Greg, but I'd go over to Greg, click on his name, and Greg's got a lot of bets posted for today. He posts free DFS content over there. I already followed, but say I wasn't. Boom, click follow, you are in. And you can have notifications on for everybody. Not only that, though, but you have a bunch of other guys and people like Josh is posting awesome NBA stuff right now, MLB stuff, really great stuff, and some NBA futures long shots. Ben's always posting incredible stuff. He's got college football bets up. Look, more DFS content as well, running the Sims, making your guys' lives easier. You can go in, follow the guys you want, and just scroll the feed. We're building an awesome product over here. We really are. And how about this? If you wanted to tail my let's say my Lions bet, right? Or my Jamison Williams bet, which I really like this week, 38.5 receiving. It's up to 44.5 now. You can click on it and tail it. The AI mapping will load this straight into your bet slip. So now you don't ever have to put another bet in by yourself. If I were to post a screenshot of a bet, right? The AI mapping just grabs it and transcribes it for you. And now you just click it and bet it, and it'll put it straight to your bet slip. Very cool, man. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm just very excited about this. And it's something I wanted to share with you. And when you click that, you can check which odds are best. I don't know, dude. I just think this is going to be something really big, and I'm excited to be along for the ride, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And I think you guys will be as well.
Most importantly, which Loughy mentioned also, you could follow us for free there. Like, there's no reason to not take advantage of it. It's free. Go over to tails.bet, download the app, all free. Make an account. You like our posts, tail them, turn on notifications so that we do place a bet, you're going to be getting the best odds because it'll be sent right to your phone. Then you can just tail that bet and go to whatever sports book that you want that has the best available odds. So yeah, take advantage. It's all free. It's all free. There's no reason to not use it.
Wide receiver. We like Devontae Adams a lot this week in the Sims. He didn't practice today or yesterday or the day before. Keep a close eye on that hamstring. If he's out, Jordan Whittington may actually become a value option. I'll say this though, Greg. Do you know what the target share combined is for these guys this year? Devontae and Puka?
I know it's astronomically high. We'll see what happens today. Sean McVay said that Adams is going to play on Sunday. You never know totally for sure. Considering his age, I think that they're probably just being a little bit cautious with him, but who knows? Maybe he goes out, tries to practice today, doesn't feel great, and then the situation changes. As of right now, I do think that Adams and Nakua both play. As far as target share for them combined, I'm just trying to think when I've watched a Rams game that I've even seen the football thrown to anybody else. What do they have, like 75% of the targets or something?
70%. And not only that, but the team air yards, combined share of air yards is 83%, Craig. 83. The next highest target share on the team is Kyren Williams at 8%. So, I mean, it's really ridiculous. And now the Colts lose their top slot corner. So Puka probably gets a lot of work in this game again. I mean, I like it. I know it's going to be chalky. We can find ways to be a little bit different here. We absolutely can. So let's see. I like that we're getting to Drake London. I know you mentioned Olave on Wednesday, just the whole idea of like he's cheap and his target share is insane. Tedero, McMillan, Jacoby Myers. I like everybody we're getting up top. I even like, you know what? I like that we're getting 14% Brian Thomas. I'm thrilled that the Sims has given us a guy that I think the field is not going to want to get much of this week.
Yeah, Brian Thomas, good buy low. Probably actually pretty similar buy low to a fellow sophomore wide receiver that we had in Marvin Harrison yesterday. I guess the difference, though, is people aren't publicly shitting on Brian Thomas in quite the same way as Marvin Harrison. But yeah, he also is a buy low candidate who, while people aren't publicly just being like, oh, this guy sucks in the same way people are saying about Marvin Harrison, I don't think people are crazy high on Brian Thomas at the moment either. You mentioned that I like Chris Olave on Wednesday. Our data's liking him a good amount. None of that's changed for me. 3 games this year, Olave is 13, 10, and 14 targets. This is kind of similar to what we said about Christian McCaffrey before. I guess the difference is I'm very confident that McCaffrey's volume is going to continue. Olave's probably has a little bit more downside. But even if he's going to be getting 8, 9 targets per game instead of the, like 13 that he's averaging right now, at this kind of price point, $5,100, it's just hard to have a really shitty game if you're going to be getting, 10 plus targets or somewhere around there.
Definitely. Another thing, I actually think that a Trevor Lawrence double stack could make sense if De'Ami Brown is out, which could lead you to some Parker Washington. Washington last week in that win over, it was Houston, right? Houston, 11 targets. Didn't do a ton, but Trevor Lawrence does have an inclination to go to him sometimes. We've actually seen Parker Washington make big plays last year and a couple this year as well already. if De'Ami Brown sits, how many offensive snaps are we really seeing for Travis Hunter at this point? Like you might just be in a spot where you could go Brian Thomas and Parker Washington if De'Ami Brown is out. I don't think that's going to be all that popular.
Yeah, and Lynn Cohen said, when did I see this press con? I think it might have been yesterday. I saw him giving an interview. He was asked about Travis Hunter's role, and he more or less said it's not changing this year. He has a lot of responsibilities on the team, and they said, we want to keep him in one role on offense. We want to keep him in one role on defense for year one, and then that could change going forward, but they don't want him to be playing both sides of the ball and having to pick up multiple responsibilities where like all of a sudden a wide receiver, like, oh, he's got to play in the slot. He's going to play in the outside and then cornerback moving around there as well. It's not to say they don't think he's talented enough to do all those things. They just don't want to overload him when he does have so many responsibilities right out of the gate.
Yeah, of course. So if Brown sits, you might have a good double stack there. Brenton Strange would not be a bad option either. Yeah, it's the San Francisco defense, and the defenses look good early on. But, I mean, they faced Arizona. They faced the Saints. They faced Seattle in Sam Darnold's first game with them in San Francisco. Like, I don't know. I'm not sold on San Francisco's defense. And now they lost Nick Bosa for the entire year. So there might actually be a path there where the Jags end up being one of the sneakier stacks, Greg, especially with the way Brian Thomas has played and leads the league in drops.
Yeah. And when you get one of these situations too, where kind of what you're alluding to, where Trevor Lawrence, we kind of know where the ball is going to be going. It would be going to Brian Thomas, Brenton Strange. It would be going to Parker Washington. If you do get a scenario, I really do like these kinds of spots. Then you get into a situation where if Lawrence has a big game, you know who to stack him with. It's the same thing with Matt Stafford. One of the reasons that the Rams stacks are going to be really good going forward, if Stafford has a big game, Nuku and Adams both had big games. Not like, oh, assuming that health is all good. It's not like, oh, Stafford threw for 300 yards, Jordan Whittington had 100 receiving yards. It's not going to happen. It's going to be Adams and Nuku that have big games.
Yep, without question. Take a look at tight ends here as well.
Pretty spread out.
Yep. By the way, today's show is sponsored by Epic, guys. Greg and I talk about them a lot, but it's just a very, 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 very smart way to get exposed to peer-to-peer contests and make sure your money's not going in bad spots, right? Make sure that payouts are better than they should be on like Prize Picks and stuff. Make sure you're getting 100% deposit bonus up to $50 with odds1 as the code. Make sure you're fading bad parlays and bets with the fade 'em mode, where if you're sharp, you can go in there and fade and match anyone's parlays or picks and grab the opposite side of that. 50-50s tournaments, better payouts, cannot get limited ever because it's peer-to-peer. Simply the smartest way to play on any of these pick'em sites right now is over on Epic. And as it continues to grow, you're going to have more and more opportunities to match people who are simply putting out bad picks. It's that simple. So jump in early and start to get your feet wet. Wisen up to how things are played and honestly, how the industry is moving as a whole. We're seeing it, right? You're seeing this stuff with prediction markets like Kalshi, with Novig and Profit X. Epic is no different in that respect. People don't want to get limited. People don't want to keep paying money to books as all of these things continue to work against us as the bettor and as the player. This way, there is none of that. And the payouts are better because there's nothing against the house. So use odds1. Check this app out, guys. Let us know what you think. I think you'll love it. I really do. And if you're in Pennsylvania like I am, it's one of the few pick'em sites that's actually available there. All right. Hunter Henry, no surprise. I like Kyle Pitts this week too. I'm on board with these exposures, man.
Yeah, it's pretty spread out. And, Kyle Pitts has continued to be relatively disappointing and finds a way to continually get at least some sort of hype in fantasy circles. But at $3,600, if you had a couple of years ago, Kyle Pitts through 3 games in the season had 15 catches for 135 yards, there'd be the same kind of outpour about, what a bust he's been. But now at $3,600 with modest ownership, if he goes out and he has, 4 catches for 50 yards, it's a reasonable enough game. At the tight end position for this week, there isn't one guy who I want to be completely married to. I mentioned it earlier. Brock Bowers, he's the one that I'm most apt to give a positive ROI boost to at $5,800. He is, to me, by far the best spend up tight end. And then on the low end, yeah, getting some exposure to Pitts, Hunter Henry, Juwan Johnson, who's had a good start to the season. I do think there's a lot of different directions to go for cheap. Sam Laporta, another one. It's like, I still think Sam Laporta is really good and talented. It's just hard for him to get predictable volume on any given week because there are so many weapons in the Lions offense. But I think it makes sense to mix and match some of the value tight ends.
So do I. I'm always on board with that. And Laporta's 4,400 now. You're no longer paying a lot for him. Yeah, so Rance said cheap tight ends the way to go. Chris said, I agree, Vance, hoping Disley is out. He's referring to Gadsden. I mentioned him to Ben on Tuesday. Gadsden is the real deal. And if you listen to how Jim Harbaugh spoke of him, if you want to talk about potentially being early on a guy, Oronde Gadsden might be the one. He's 20, I believe he's 2,600, if memory serves me correctly from Tuesday. And there's he's really cheap and probably unnecessary right now. But if Will Disley ends up not playing in this game where you are a 6.5 point favorite, I would absolutely take some shots on Gadsden.
Also, which, I mean, you said that the positive things that Harbaugh has said about Gadsden. Yesterday, he came out and said that he's earned himself a bigger role in the offense going forward. So this is even not considering the health of Will Disley. This is even if Disley plays, he's saying that, hey, Oronde Gadsden's looked pretty good. We want to get him a little bit of extra playing time / touches. So if Disley plays, that's not enough for me to probably want to roster Gadsden this Sunday. But if Disley is out combined with what we saw Harbaugh say about Gadsden, then yes, he is absolutely somebody I'm going to want to be playing if I'm punting at tight end.
Definitely. And he's very cheap and he's favored. So I like him. Rance, I drafted a lot of him late in the drafts as well. Why not, right? What I was doing is just a ton of 3 tight end builds in best ball and waiting. Tyler Warren's my most exposed because he was like 115 ADP early, and you just grab those guys in the 10th or later round. So far, so good. We'll see how it plays out. But, if you faded Travis Kelce, that looks pretty great right now. If you faded Kittle, that looks pretty great right now. Greg, I wanted to mention one more thing and get your thoughts on this. And this was actually a comment from chat responding to Adrian. It was Chris who said, I'd rather take Kamara over Olave. Bills' run defense is worse than football. They're only on 160 yards in the passing game, second best in football. I have a weird hot take in this game that I'd like to get your opinion on.
Okay.
Alvin, I mentioned this on the show I do with Andy yesterday. Check that out, by the way. You guys will love it. Over on Andy Francis's channel, friend of OddsShopper and Stokastic. The biggest name coming up in trade rumors right now is Alvin Kamara. There's nothing definitive, nothing set in stone, but that name's coming up in a lot of places, right? Kansas City's one of them. There's a few teams, Vikings, that's tossing it around. I don't see why they'd want to with Mason, but still. They're 16.5 point dogs here. Buffalo has a bad run defense, but you often have to abandon the run in spots like this if things aren't going well, just as the Jets did in week 2 when I liked Breece Hall and that went the wrong way. There's a possibility, and I did bet this, I'm going to bet this, Kendre Miller over 14.5 rushing yards. I feel like that might be the spot that I want to get to. Not in DFS, but I may just look towards Kendre Miller rushing prop instead of Alvin Kamara rushing or DFS. May even consider betting the unders on Alvin Kamara in this spot as well, because I'm nervous that if this game gets out of control, or even if it doesn't, if you're trying to preserve Alvin Kamara, that would be the way to do it. Let's be honest. There's never going to be a situation or a scenario where Alvin Kamara is on a good Saints football team again. It may be sad if you're a Saints fan. They're too far away, Greg. There is simply zero chance that Alvin Kamara will ever be on a contending Saints team in his career again.
Yeah, that's safe to say. I was just pulling up some of the numbers for that game as well. And one other thing that I think makes a little bit of sense is, let's say that you are correct there, that the game's a blowout. Miller ends up getting more touches late in the game. I think it probably makes sense to combine any Miller props, maybe alt lines with them, with Bills minus 16.5, because I
Sure.
don't think Miller's going to get extended playing time if the game's competitive. So I think that would be another way to get a little bit of added plus money to the ticket, is you just parlay it with the Bills spread.
Yeah, I could see it. I also, though, wouldn't be shocked if he did get more work and they start pumping the brakes on Kamara a little bit, because I don't really understand why you would keep running Kamara into the ground when you could probably just trade him and get something out of it. I don't know.
Teams do weird things. What was his workload like at the end of last year? It wasn't much in the final week of the season, but yeah, I mean, even last year, there was a point in time where the Saints were way out of the playoff race. The games didn't matter. And I'm not even saying your logic is wrong. I'm just saying that these teams do nonsensical things sometimes. Game against the Panthers, the Saints, their season is well over at this point. Kamara gets 29 rush attempts for 155 yards and 9 targets. He catches 6 of them for 60 yards. These teams do just nonsensical things sometimes for no reason.
I agree. I definitely agree. I can't help but think, though, that there's a possibility. Anyway, well, I'd rather play it in a SGP style like you're talking about. And if we're wrong, it doesn't matter, because you're allocating like a quarter unit to a big parlay. But if you're right, you could end up having a good game. And maybe you look towards some Kendre Miller alt overs or something like that. It could be fun. That could be fun. Anyway, anything else before we get out of here?
No, just check out Epic. Use that promo code odds1 for 100% deposit match bonus up to $50. Follow us for free over on Tails, because it's free. Why would you not take advantage of that? But
It's great information and bets. We hit some bangers this week.
Yeah, I had I didn't hit anything crazy long odds. I did have Charbonnet for a touchdown last night, but the real bangers have been you and Ben Raza, who are posting like 20-1 touchdown tickets that are winning.
It's too fun not to, man. You should jump in on it with us. It's betting long shots in football is so fun. That's why I wanted to do, and I know you're the same way with the free picks. That's why I wanted to make everything free over there, because it's just more fun that way. Like I'm putting I'm betting these. I'm not just throwing bullshit like grab this 20-leg touchdown. No, I'm throwing all this stuff. I'm betting. I like these bets, but it's more fun when it's free, because then we can put it out there. We can all sweat them together, and it's not like anyone's paywalled by that, And a lot of these people are already paying Stokastic subs. It's like, why you're not going to make you come in and jump in and pay for that as well. But anyway, appreciate you guys. Love you all. We'll see you back here Sunday. MLB Live Before Lock tonight. Josh is on the strategy show right now, so flip over to that if you plan on playing some MLB. But Sunday, 4-hour live stream. We're probably not doing an LBL, a shortened LBL for the Dublin game, right?
Oh, you better believe we are.
Oh, Josh, we're doing one? Nice.
Yeah. So Josh is going to do live before. It'll all be attached to the same show, but Josh is going to open the show doing a preview of the Sunday. I just realized I don't know what's Sunday morning football game. Sick. And then I'm going to do my lineup building portion. Then you and Ben on the deep dive, and then it'll be Eric and Spags on the live before lock portion.
Perfect. I love it. All right. Appreciate you guys. We'll catch you back here for the next one. Bye-bye.